Hey, and welcome to another edition of the 498 Show. I'm Tony Palmieri from the Communication Studies program at the University of Wisconsin, Oshkosh. Absolutely thrilled today to be joined by someone I've admired for a long time, Lisa Tieglman-Koepp. Lisa, hi.
Hey,
Lisa is a counselor at North Shore Clinic in West Bend, and we'll talk about how her journey led her there. She graduated 1990, I believe, from the University of
correct.
Wisconsin Oshkosh. And
Mhm.
Lisa was one of the first students that I ever had here, and it was a memorable experience, as she will she will tell us.
Very much so.
Yeah, Lisa, I've been so much looking forward to this. You and I should have caught up a long time ago, but let's talk a little bit about your early upbringing. Where are you from, and uh,
Sure.
yeah, where were you born, for
So
example?
I am a Bender. It's what they call us. I was born and raised in West Bend, Wisconsin, a lovely little community from the fifth most conservative county in the state. But
Wow.
uh, yeah, so I went home, but it was 1990, I think in
Mhm.
1990 that I graduated, right? So anyway, so I was
Yes.
born in 68, right? 1968. I think I've always been either in another lifetime like a hippie or someone who fought in the Vietnam War or something like that, because I'm so like I was so attuned to rights causes and all that kind of stuff. And I kept like stealing food from our house to feed the sentry homeless guy. So,
Wow.
so I grew up in, typical middle class home. I have a younger sister for about 3.5 years younger than me, and she too for a while attended UW Oshkosh. She went to Eau Claire and then Oshkosh, and then finished up her 2-year degree when we still had 2-year campuses.
What did your parents
So
do for a living?
my mother worked at the clerk of court's office. I think she was the clerk of court. So if you were
Oh,
summoned for jury duty and you worked with her, she would get everything set up. Or if you were
oh,
trying to get
wow.
out of jury duty, she had the ticket how to get out of that too. So she did that, and part-time. She was part-time and she enjoyed golfing. So that was her big thing. So she a full-time golfer, part-time work is kind of how I described her, would describe her. But then my dad, he it came from the tool and die industry. And so he worked at a place called Banner Welder in it was in Milwaukee for a
Hmm.
while now. They built a big complex in like the Germantown area.
Hmm.
So unfortunately, my dad, he was president of the RWMA, some kind of national welders association. But
Oh,
at the
wow.
time he retired, he was like sales and marketing, VP of sales and marketing. And he would always say to me, if you ever want the best question to ask someone, if you really want to get to know who they are, ask them about their friends. Ask them like
Wow.
what they do, because it's safer, right? It's some way safer to say, they're on a dart league than if I say I'm in a dart league, right? And when you're in an interview, but he was trying to get, what are you involved in? Are you like is it the church? Is it sporting bar events? Is it conservation? Really
Sure.
contributing to your society or whatever. But everyone know how well you're doing. Look at who you are hanging with, and that's been
I,
advice
yeah, sounds pretty wise. Did you go to West Bend High School?
I did. Well, my husband and I say that we went to different schools together because uh, up until maybe this year, where they already decided they're going to make it one school. You had West Bend East and West Bend West, two high
Oh,
schools connected with a central hallway. So you might have combined classes for like business, cooking stuff,
wow.
trade, business, that kind of thing. We at West, we were the gymnasium and the pool, and then East had the theater at that end. So we would, but sometimes you locker would be in East if you went to West, and sometimes you'd have a class in East instead of in West, and you had two cafeterias, but you could go anywhere. It was really neat because then when you had like homecoming or football games and stuff, and you played each other. It was
Oh,
like
wow.
the rivalry. It was like the spirit was so, it was just so neat, so much fun to be part of it. And there's a lot of us that are like, don't combine. What are you doing? And so when they tried to do it the first time, we had a big petition and they didn't, but they are now. So I don't know how
So
it's
you
supposed to
and your
work.
so you and your now husband, you were there
Yeah.
at the same time?
Yes. He went to Westman East and I went to Westman West, and we both graduated in 86.
So were you boyfriend and girlfriend while you were in high school?
We were, yes, my junior year of high school, we started dating
So
because
you married your high school sweetheart.
yeah, I know, I did. Well, my sophomore year in college, there was a little bit of a break for about maybe like half a year. I don't know,
Okay.
which was good because I think we both needed to kind of
Mm-hmm.
experience some other things, right?
Right. Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and then found our way back to each other, and now it's been like it was 32 years this past September, and so we're coming
Amazing.
up on 33.
So
Yeah,
what did get you to Oshkosh then? Because you could have probably gone to any UW school. I assume you had really good grades in high school.
I was, yeah, I mean, not really good, but I was
Good enough
like
that you
in
had
every.
options as to where you wanted to go to college.
Correct. Yeah. I was in that top 33% or whatever
Yeah.
you need to be. But I mean, I entertained Oshkosh. And at that time, Madison was always like, if you can't get in anywhere, you can go to Madison, right? And then
Right.
football occurred and championship wins occurred, and then designated research. And all of a sudden now it's one of the hardest schools to get into.
Yeah.
But so I thought, well, if I don't get in there, and I think I looked at lacrosse in Milwaukee.
Hmm.
But I decided to come to Oshkosh because it was north but not too far away, and I don't know, I just like the camp. It just felt right. It's so
Yeah.
important to do those campus visits because you need to experience what it feels like to know this is where you belong,
Yes.
right? And you can
Absolutely.
get that, and you can get that
You're right.
there, right?
So now when you got to Oshkosh, you were not originally a speech. Back then we called it speech communication.
Yes.
So I don't think you started with speech communication. So what got you finally into it?
Well, okay, okay, I had no idea, what I wanted to do, and um just very influenced. I was influenced a lot by like my boyfriend, and at the time of his family, they were successful professionals, and I thought, oh, there was a teacher, his sister-in-law was a teacher, and so I thought, okay, I'll go into education, right? And then one of the first classes you take is Introduction to Professional Education.
Right.
Dr. Ed Wisey, I think, was in charge of
Mhm.
that program. But I did my shadow work in the classroom, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna lose. I can't do this. I cannot be a teacher. I'm already irritable. I'm angry. I'm like frustrated. I'm ready to just lose it on some kid because they were so disrespectful. I think it was like a substitute teacher that day. So I mean, probably wasn't the ideal way to shadow, but I was like, I am not doing that. And so then I looked into human services, thinking, well, maybe I'll contribute to the world that way, right? And then I was like mad because of the oppressive structures that continue to keep certain marginalized people stuck.
Hmm.
I thought, I would probably raise enough hell that I'd be out of a job, right? I'm not just depressing. It's not liberating. It's like putting a band-aid on things, and we just our priorities are out of whack, right? And then
Oh yeah.
what are we left to do? We're left to pick up the pieces when everything falls apart, right? But in that regard, I don't want to do that. I went to business school. I took personal finance. I really thought I did well in that first exam. It was an interim class. And I got there the next day, and I failed it. I was like, I start crying. I start crying. I get up. I'm like,
Oh
I'm gonna
wow.
drop this class. So I went and I I dropped it. I got a withdrawal from it, because it was like in time. But that was so disappointing because I'm like, what am I? Because my dad wanted me to do that. My dad
Oh
all along
sure.
was saying, you need to make money, and business is a way to do that. So I was like, okay. And then, so that was a really hard thing for me to do, to tell him I'm not doing business. I'm not doing that
Mhm.
anymore. And I had taken a number of marketing classes and really liked those a lot. And then I thought communications. I hadn't really entertained that. And so I think I met with my advisor who suggested to look into the curriculum for that. And that was when the degree was in organizational and speech communication,
Yes.
I think is what it was. Right. But at that time, what was so different is we got to do so many things. Like you had to be on the debate team, right? You take people that are like, they're not polished debaters, but they're business school flunkies, and you put them on the debate team, and you try to live off $3 a meal, they allot for you or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel bad because Lori was my debate partner. Lori.
Yes, we talked before this. Your debate partner was Lori Walters,
Mhm.
who was at the time and still is absolutely brilliant. I mean, she was someone who impressed me from the moment I started teaching here, and when she became a college professor, it did not surprise me at
Right.
all. So you two must have been a
Well,
powerhouse debate team, because you were. I remember you being very energetic and fired up about everything. So you two must have been a really good match.
she would be like so when I get frustrated, I will like crack some kind of sarcastic joke, or I'll just be like, "Oh my God, I'm losing this. I don't want to lose. I'm not losing. So then what can I say that would help?" And Lori would be like, "Oh, for God's sakes, I'll have to clean this mess up. I have to clean it up in my rebuttal." Like just I have thanked her profusely many times for all the grace she extended to me, because I don't think we got to choose our partners at that point. I think
No?
they were just chosen for us,
Yeah,
right? And we didn't know
yeah.
each other.
And I remember Dr. Kay Neal, she really liked you a lot. And she really loved Lori too. So you two were thought very highly of. So would you call academic debate, a transformative experience for you?
Sure. And what's interesting is, we hear a lot of people talking about the times and how, like, I can't believe we're still protesting this stuff. But the resolutions that we were given in 1986 was whether third-party participation in the US presidential elections would benefit the political party. And you had to find affirmative and negative evidence, right? When you're arguing both. I had a little bit of time because I had a strong belief, about that anyway. So it was hard to debate
Hmm.
the other side as passionately, maybe. Um, and then it was like that we need more gun laws,
Oh,
restrictive use of gun laws. And I'm thinking to myself, we are we're still doing this.
yeah,
We are still debating about these issues, and it's 35 years later.
yeah.
Ugh.
Besides the debate program, did you have other memorable experiences in the communication program?
I did. We also had to do like a stint at the radio station,
Oh, yeah.
WRST, right? And I no one I just came there one day and they're like, "Oh, great, you're here to relieve me. See you later." And I'm like, "Oh, what am I supposed to do?" And so I pulled some albums off the shelf. Like I had no instruction whatsoever. And it happened to have been during Doc's jazz
Doc Snyder.
radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on the night his jazz program was to be on. I didn't know that. So he's on the phone, mad. He was so mad at me. Like, I'm like, "I'm sorry, I don't. And then there were other people that were calling. They were like, "Hey, Doc, this is Doc Jazz's radio program. What kind of music are you playing?" I'm like, "I'm just pulling from the files. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing." So that was a really rough introduction to um radio, TV, film.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, but I don't know. And I think that I think it was the classes that we took, and this is why I'm so appreciative, and I value you so much, because I mean, look at your wife, look what she's doing. She's like mayor and she's represented. She's like
Yeah.
moving. I mean, I'm thinking that you could not be a more dynamic dual like powerhouse.
Oh, I
I,
appreciate that.
I just love that. But and then I can say, hey, he was my professor, and then he became Maddie's professor. But
Yeah.
the content that you showed, honestly, I think, we would study the history of US presidential address. Is that an
Yeah.
offering you still
Oh, yeah.
have?
Still, yeah.
Oh,
It's
it
one of my
is?
favorite
Okay.
classes to teach. Yeah.
Okay. I really enjoyed that. And I don't remember what the class was called, but I think when you first, one of the first days I think you started at semester, right? So it must have been like one of the first weeks that you
Hmm.
were there. You had us listen to a tape of Louis Farrakhan,
Yeah.
right? Well, and you made it really hard to be comfortable with privilege, which is a good thing.
Wow. And you resisted at first, right? You
Oh,
were,
yeah.
I actually have, Lisa, two, I think, really dominant memories of you. Um, One was, I don't know if you remember, it was maybe fall of 89, spring of 90. I don't remember. There was one of those drinking riots in Oshkosh. And I went into the classroom. You were in the class. And I just was talking about how ridiculous this was, how the students should be ashamed of themselves, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if you remember, you just like ripped into me on that. You were you were making this argument that I didn't understand the student body at all. I was making way too much of a big deal of this, and you were quite agitated by the whole thing, but in a way that
Hmm.
really made me think and defend what I was saying. So I was very appreciative. And then
Yeah.
yeah, and then the yeah, I think you had been like walking out on the streets when this was going on, and you thought that the media had blown it up and it was exaggerated and blah blah blah. But then the second thing, and I don't know if you remember this, and I was so proud of you at the time. Do you remember the Rodney King riots?
Yeah. Oh,
I remember we had
yes.
this big march at UW Oshkosh, and it ended up, or it's either started or ended up on the steps of the library, and you spoke to this crowd from the steps of the library. Do you remember this?
Yes, I do.
And I was so blown away. And I thought, oh my goodness, I think what we teach in this program really does have some impact.
Yeah. I think that was when I returned for my graduate degree because I took a
No, no,
so
no,
I
I don't
grad
think so. Oh,
no,
maybe. Could be.
because I graduated in 93 with my master's degree. So I was
No,
gone
the Rodney
from
King thing would have been around 90, 91. You were still an undergrad.
yeah, okay.
I
Okay.
think so.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, anyways, I think the what I learned is like I read the book White Fragility recently,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm like, this is what happened in Tony's class. This is why the reaction, why I reacted, why everyone else reacted, right? This is it. So even today, when I read things and we talk about like, the like if you're not standing up against oppression, then you are an oppressor. You are an oppressor. If you will stand up to it, then you become
Yeah.
that. Like, and that really hammered home. I mean, with you in any class I took with you, even just seeing you, discussions we'd have, like
Yeah.
it was, how you use in your life today to make a difference. That
You know,
question,
yeah. You know, it's interesting with the Farrakhan thing. I had literally seen him speak in Rochester, New York, and the way he did it at that time, they were literally making copies of his speeches while he was speaking. And you were able to talk about a lower technology era. You were literally able to buy the cassette 30 minutes after he spoke because he had
yeah,
people in a back room that were
wow.
making these tapes. It was incredible. And I remember at the time there were quite a few students that were very resistant to hearing that. Like, what is this? What relevance could this guy have for people living in Northeast Wisconsin? And I look back now and
Right.
I think, wow, that would be exactly the reason to have students listen to that,
Right.
right? And I,
Absolutely.
yeah, and I'm
And,
really
and
glad that you got something out of that.
I did. I think you pushed the boundaries. So we weren't allowed to be comfortable anymore. And so you caused reactions. Like, I don't want to say you poked the bear, but in some way there were, I don't know if you could attribute my reaction to being of that magnitude, but I know there were a lot of other people that were like really mad.
Oh
I wasn't
yeah,
around during slavery. Why should I be held responsible for their blah 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 blah? You know, no. You know,
yeah,
I just think about that, and that was definitely like I didn't even have a person of color in my, well, maybe I did one. But
yeah,
I didn't know him. I didn't know him well at all, right? In my graduating class, living in my community, like I didn't have
right,
any exposure. So I really
right,
truly bought into, and it's unconscious. You know, the thing is, and I tell my, when I was raising my girls, I was telling them that, you know, you, there's so much privilege that they have right now that you don't even think, like you can say, I'm just not into politics. And like we know, you can't not be into politics. You are not the resistance then. You are part of the oppression. So
mhm,
you have to know. You have to know. And so, and you also have to look at everybody as a potential blank slate that if you live your life in such a way, you'll attract people to how you live, right? You can promote all you want. You should do this and be like that and do that. You can do that all you want, but if you don't live your life in such a way that says to other people, or other people say to you, like, I really like that. I like what you
yeah,
have,
yeah,
right? How did you get that? Tell me. And then they're interested in what you believe, where you learned, how that came about. I cannot, and Tony, people that go to UW Oshkosh, I tell all the time, look at the communications department, look at the communications degree. You're going into psychology, great, but look at the communications degree because it is so broad yet defined,
yes.
and it's applicable. I don't know a place where it's not applicable.
Oh, it's applicable to everything. And actually that's a really great transition to your professional life. How did you go from your undergrad degree to then become a counselor? So what happened immediately after you graduated?
Well, 1990, that summer, I had a few classes to finish up. So I took like some business document class. So did a lot of typewriting, um, business forms and letters and all that kind of stuff. So it had that to take. And then, but at that time we were like wallpapering our dining room. We lived in the pink house that was on the corner of the New York and Wisconsin for a little while, but I don't think
Oh,
it's pink
wow.
anymore. But I think the Newman Center's in it now, but that's where we live. So we just, because you got a rejection letter, right? And we taped it up there. It was called the wall of shame, is kind of what we called it. So it was hard to find a job. And as a result, I moved home, and which my dad was okay with, but I don't think my mom was not. And so like when I
Oh,
when I moved in, she she set up a bed for me in the basement. Now they had just bought this duplex, this brand new built duplex, beautiful, right? Extra room. Why can't I use the extra room, right? No, she put a bed together in the basement. I'm deathly afraid of like spiders. Death. I'm talking like, and that comes because when I was growing up, I had a basement bedroom, and every time I got into bed, I had to open the covers because there'd always be one or two that would scampi, right? And my dad would have to spray insecticide into my window well up here, which I oftentimes wonder if that contributed to some of the health crises I had, because I could
oh,
literally, like, I could taste that. I could
yeah.
taste that. It
Oh,
was so,
yeah.
he tried everything he could. And I was always screaming because I couldn't kill him. You would think things you hate that way, that
Hmm.
much, you could kill him, but no. So anyways, I came home and I got a job working at Carlson Marketing.
Hmm.
So I think the way that I used my degree in that way was like trying to show how relevant it is to what you're trying, know your audience, right?
Mhm.
Know your audience, promote the product and understand like how, what you love about it, what the customer might love about it. And,
Oh, sure.
it's like learning, it's just learning basic communication. And you're trying to, I think like the art of negotiation and
Hmm.
mediation, like those courses, and those might have been independent studies that I took with Bill Q, because he had, his mentor wrote a book, Getting to Yes. I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
sure. And she had passed away during that time. I think it really was hard for Bill. Really was hard in that
Okay.
moment. But I don't know if you recall who I'm talking about. If you came from the same place, maybe you do. I'm not sure.
I remember the book Getting to Yes.
Yes.
I don't remember the author, but and I remember Bill,
Yeah.
who you're talking about,
Yep.
vividly.
So
Mhm.
like it's an art form. This communication
Oh,
stuff is
yeah.
all art. It's all art, and you have to. There's always something to get better at. You can always learn that. I mean, I remember writing my first speech for the first speech class, and how many ums I got dinged for, because that was the task. That was how you were graded, you know,
So what
right?
got you into counseling?
Okay, so then, so I worked at Carlson Marketing, and
Hmm.
it was not a very good place in the city. And then I got recruited by an advertising specialty company to join them to make advertising specialty items. So I was an assistant account executive to someone who never worked. He didn't work a day. He'd golf like every day. And I did all the work, right? And
Wow.
but I so it's like buying, like professional fishermen. We had the Outboard Marine Corporation account, so all the outdoor fishermen would call, and they got $350 worth of free merchandise. And there was a what do you call it, like a workshop out back.
Hmm.
And my husband, of course, was like, you got to talk to him, because like that's all he does on Sunday mornings. It's not going to watch these fishing shows. And
Hmm.
he's a guide too. He used to and he does tournaments and he does all that stuff too. So he's a very strong fisherman. Like the girls and I were all probably around this time, we'd be like, you need to go, like, just go visit your boat, sit in it, do something, because you got to get an attitude correction. This is not like he's got a chalkboard where he's like 22 days till I get my boat, 21 days, 20 days. It's bad. And it is pathetic when you do go to your boat and sit in it in storage just to get an attitude adjustment.
Right.
But anyway, so I I went to therapy, um, because it was so chaotic living at home. So my father
Mm.
was recovering alcoholic, and he would bring home addicts all the time. And I was so happy to be helpful, right? Like I could do some
Wow.
laundry, or I could like make someone a meal, but my mom did not like that. And of course, this is the same kid who went, where's all the meat in the freezer? I met some woman at the laundromat. I'm like, she doesn't have any food. So I went and I put a bag together and gave her, you can't do that anymore. She was just very like hoarded. Like, it's no, I'm afraid.
Hmm.
I don't want to get into that. Like,
Hmm.
was a prosperous mentality. I mean, she's very
Right.
scarcity mentality. So, um, and I also, so I'm trying to think, how did this work? Shoot, why am I forgetting this? Oh, I know. So I'm at this other company, and I'm working for this absent person and making him lots of money. And the owner comes in and asks me to type her daughter's term paper. I said, I'm not doing that. I was like practicing asserting myself. Because this company was being investigated for illegal drug trafficking and chemical dumping, and there's like it just was like,
Goodness.
this is scary, right? So and then she smoked a cigarette, and the cigarette burns and carpet all over the shop. Just such a little disregard, so much disregard for her company. But so in that moment, I followed her. I said I wasn't going to do that. That's not something I'm going to do. And then she called me a name, and I walked into her office and I said, when you can respect me, I will work for you. And since you can't, today I'm leaving. And I left and I'm like, what? It was kind of like, I don't even know. Something came over me. I just did that. And I went home and I'm like,
Wow.
what do I
Good
do
for you.
now? What do I do now? What do I do? And the only thing on my mind was call my friend Sam. And Sam was a residence hall director. And I've worked for various parts of higher ed, right? So um, I called him and I said, hey, I don't know if you're the person to talk to, but I think if I were to go back to school, I would need to have a graduate assistantship of some type. And he said, we would love to have you back. The application deadline, however, is on Friday. So it was Wednesday. I'm like, okay. So there was 3 tracks in the counselor ed program. So you had school counseling, higher ed, and community. So that was I thought, I would love that. I would love to come back. So I called my old roommates. I drove up there, cut my hair really short. I bought like a power suit. Remember those in the 90s? So
Sure.
maybe if we look like men, that we'll be treated like men,
Right.
that's what we did in the 90s, right? So anyways, and so it was such a whirlwind of a frenzy of activity at that time, because then I had to run. I don't even, maybe it was, did I ever approach you and ask you for, would you write me a letter of recommendation?
Pro- Quite
Because,
possibly.
okay,
Yeah.
I think you did. I think you did, because I sat outside your office and
Yeah.
I said, but I need you to do it now. Right now? I mean, yeah, you don't understand. These have to go with my application for
Wow.
graduate school and
And I'm
for,
sure I did it.
yeah, you
I never
did.
turned down those requests.
So, and then like the next week they were like, we're offering you a job. So they save
Wow.
4 slots for their assistant hall directors in the counseling program. And I started as a higher ed emphasis. So I got squeezed into this 2-year long waiting list program right away. I had a graduate assistantship I was the assistant residence hall director in Fletcher. Um,
Oh,
and
wow.
that's how the journey started. It
Yeah.
I also was offered a job that I declined at the art museum, Milwaukee Art Museum, within their marketing department too. And
Mhm.
of course, I didn't take that job. Took the other one, but I just think, I mean, I had a lot of opportunities come my way, even during the recession in the 1990s, that I didn't realize until I got probably closer to Milwaukee.
Mhm.
Um, larger urban area. I think there was probably a little bit more. Because at that time too, it was, think about it, like all those businesses had shut down in Milwaukee. And it was hard to rebuild, but they rebuilt a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, and then it was during the counseling program, we had a community counseling lab. And I had Ken Morrison for my mentor, who was also like Linda Johnson's mentor. And so it was like a favor. Here, would you see this person? We want to hire her. Would you? And so when I met with him, he's he smokes. His office was like newspaper clippings and yellowed paper and smoking. Like, are you allowed to do
Right.
this? Like, it was so, he's
Wow.
like, yeah, it's my office. I'll do what I want. I said, okay, but, and I love, I mean, he became very, very special and important to me. And unfortunately, he got, he got sick and he actually survived a stomach aneurysm. You usually don't survive
Wow.
those. And then 120 days in the hospital, then he was home and he fell and he broke his hip and then got a staph infection. And then that's what took his life. So it was just so
Oh,
sad.
wow.
It's 70. So, but he was very prominent, I think, in my decision to switch to the community role. So he would assign me clients that were very challenging. And we, of course, were part of like maybe 5 or 6 of us in with a professor, and we would watch behind a one-way mirror and they would call in the rotary phone and they'd say,
Yeah.
explore that more, you need to, like, they literally would like criticize and take notes. And so, but this is the feisty part of me. I was mad because I'm like, here are people, Ken's talking about how he assigned them to people. And this guy wants going back to school. This person's struggling with parenting, kids, whatever. This one wants to do career counseling, or this one wants to whatever, and this is Andy. Andy's been coming to our clinic for 20 years. He's schedule effective. He's got an alcohol addiction problem. Is very non-compliant, doesn't take his meds, and he just comes and we assign him to someone. And Lisa, I'm going into higher ed. Why would you give me Andy? Why? That guy's sick. He needs someone to help him. Why me? No, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. All right, let's go. Your assignments. And I was like, oh, I swear I'm getting a different mentor. I'm going to get a different advisor because someone's going to hear me, right? So I sat down with Andy, and it was probably one of the most powerful experiences I think I've ever had with a client, because
Amazing.
yes, he was coming here, but like you said, when you interviewed, and you were just like, you really didn't think you would land there. So you're just yourself. You didn't
Right.
have any need to be. And I was angry, and I thought, this is so I was really real in that moment. And Andy's like, so why did they assign me you? And I said, I don't know. And I'm sorry, because I don't think I'm the best one for you, because I'm going into higher education. And I would hear, Ken, no, you're not. So they think I'm the best to help you. And I think that's a very, very, very bad way of bad assignment, and I'm sorry. And I just showed up, and we talked. I mean, he started going to meetings, right? I'm like, look, if medication is going to help your brain be less on fire, why don't you take it? Like, why don't you, whatever? I don't know what I said or what I did. I think it just, maybe I was not trying to cure him. I just was like, hey, look, this is what you have. You can either live with it willfully or you live with it woefully. What is it going to be? Just choose, because I don't know. I'm going to higher ed. I don't have time to do this. Like, I'm getting frustrated, Andy, because it's just a choice you make, and you've chosen to live this way. You've chosen to come for 20 years. What is it what do you have to do, and what are you getting out of not doing it? Because that's what I learned in my communications degree. This is what I've learned. Like, your actions are speaking louder than anything you can say right now, right? Like, you keep coming 20 years, you keep coming, promising to do what everyone's suggesting, you don't do it. So like, I don't get it. And maybe this is not how you're supposed to do community counseling, because this is what I'm supposed to do with you, not career stuff or non-traditional stuff. But I really liked him. By the end of our work together, I was like, man, go have a life. You are amazing. Go use your life. Don't try to survive it. Just start taking that energy, do the right thing, use that energy to, go make your unique thumbprint on the world. Just go do it. Go to those meetings, stay sober, take your meds. Simple. I'm not saying it's easy, just simple, right? So like, I think about, and then I had a therapist who offered me a job right upon my graduation from graduate school. And I knew that was wrong. I was like, this is a boundary issue. How can you be doing that, right? And so I confronted him, and it was a very interesting revelation about power, the abuse of power.
Oh, wow.
And I stayed 9 months, but I left. And I became a client rights specialist for 3 other agencies. So when there's grievances,
Oh,
I don't think you have to do this anymore. It can be someone in your clinic, but you had to have someone outside your clinic willing to be your client rights advocate, who would hear complaints and grievances and have meetings, like mediate, whatever. I did that. And I think that was all a result of being like, this in therapy, there's a power differential, right? And you have to understand that, and you have to respect that, and you don't offer people jobs. You just don't, you don't do that. That's an abuse of your power. So anyways, then I really think what I'm realizing in talking to you is I feel like I've had a lot of the universal winds really leading me, where because it's just do the right thing in this moment, and then let the next moment unfold when it's supposed to. And so I said, I said, I don't understand these changes. It just seems like it's I mean, I look at other people and what they're making on average, like this is not up to that, even average of that. And so then I was accused of, oh, I can't believe you're accusing me of using you. I'm like, I'm not, I'm looking for clarification. I'm standing
Mhm.
up, self-advocating, doing this thing, right? And so he says, there's the naughty word door. I can't believe you're accusing me of using you. And I'm like, okay, I'll use that door. And at that time, his wife was a therapist, and she and I shared an office, and it was very clear to me there was an alpha female here, very threatened by my presence, because there was no
Oh,
degree. There was someone with a alcohol certification who just happened to have been this same therapist patient at one point too, uh, earlier earlier on. And she had this big mahogany chair, and his desk was beautiful. And I had a card table chair and like a child, like a little kid's desk that they said, this is your seat. Okay. I see it. I get it. So, and so then I'm like, what am I going to do? I walked over, I just went home, and in my mail, there was a letter from our Prudential insurance guy whose wife was a psychologist, and they're looking to expand. Give them a call. So I did. I did. And then I went up they had a wellness fair at the local college in town. Man, we miss our 2-year center. We miss
oh
it.
yeah.
We miss that. Um, and talked to the owner, and he's like, yeah, great. And you know what? Would you do research for special education due process hearings for me? I'm like, ah, yeah, more to learn. This is great. And he paid me more than I was making at the other
Right.
clinic. And then I could get my hours. You have to get 3,000 hours to be billable through insurance. So, and then he went to Italy, got sick, dissolved the practice, and then I kept driving past this place where I practice now at North Shore Clinics and Consultants. It's a big, like 3-story land and brick home. It's
Hmm.
beautiful. And I thought, well, maybe I'll check them out. And at that time I had clients, I had some leverage, right? I could bring people, and that's what I did. And I've been here for 29 years
Wow. At the North Shore Clinic
at Nurse. Yeah,
in West Bend.
yeah,
So do you, well, what do you consider to be your specialty now in your practice?
yeah. Well, I can tell you that I I noticed some very interesting behaviors in the residence hall when I was doing my graduate work. And there was like a secret bulimic society that claimed a portion of the building. They claimed it's interesting how that worked. Not it wasn't anything on paper or organized, but people just knew it's my turn to go. And at that time, we knew a lot about anorexia,
Mhm.
and starting to talk more about bulimia, not really talking much about binge eating disorder or any of the other things. But I began to notice this, and then I started doing my own research, because there was no training out there for anyone who um, wanted to learn more. So it was all self-study. And then I had a cousin who had bulimia, and she ended up taking her own life.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And thank you. Yeah. And what was so odd about that is that's when call waiting. Remember call waiting, where
Of
you had a
course.
beep? Oh, someone's calling, right? Click, click. I'm talking to my mom, and she tells me about Amy, and then beep. I go, oh, hold on, mom, I gotta take this call. So I took it, and it's Linda Johnson at the Department of Residence Life giving
Mhm.
me the graduate, or offering me the graduate assistantship. And as a result, it's part of, you will live up here, and you get a room and board, you get parking pass, membership to the fitness center, and um, and you're in the counseling program. I'm like, okay, great, I gladly accept. Right? Can I call you back? She's, oh, sure, absolutely. I said, okay, I'm just on the other line. So then I'm like, okay, all right. So it was one of those like full circle moments as well, because I feel like I didn't really, I just like I was flying, like somebody pushed me over the cliff, and I was like, oh my God, I have to go here now. and this is happening, blah, blah, like, but you know what? Sometimes I think when you look at like life is not something to be controlled, but man, do we try,
Yeah.
right? We try.
Yep, we
And
do.
when we can just sit back and say, okay, just in this moment, just show me what I'm supposed to do, right? What am I being called to do in this moment? And that's really become like how I live, how I work, how I do really anything. But so much of that integrates into that communication world, right? As we learn to navigate all that out there,
Hmm.
it's I tell you, it was the freedom to be, the freedom to disagree, the freedom you offered to be mad. Like these were things, even if I didn't understand it, even if I was on the wrong side of history in that moment, you you like I said, you challenged us to be uncomfortable with that that privilege. And that was, I think I'm looking at that as being like one of the greatest gifts I think anyone's ever given me.
Oh, wow. That's
So I'm very
that's
grateful.
that's so incredible to hear. And I'm sure you bring those values to your own practice now and have for a while. You mentioned eating disorders.
Yeah.
Are eating disorders a primary focus of your practice?
So in 2010, I was recruited by the eating disorder program at Aurora Psychiatric Hospital in Wauwatosa. Were expanding and they wanted someone who wasn't green, is how they called it. So that was like 2010. And so that program dissolved August of 2019 when Advocate merged with Aurora. And I think they were going to turn the unit we were on into like double the beds and then be like funnel people with good insurance there to detox and then to the $32 million Dewey Center that they had just built, right? Like, do you not see what's going on here? This is about, right? And then COVID hit,
Oh,
and that unit closed.
oh no.
It opened for a little while, but we couldn't find staff. So they had to close it. So that unit for the one is still closed to this day. So after that, so I ran the intensive outpatient program on the eating disorder, yeah, the unit, right? So I ran the IOP and then I supervised interns. Um, and then I moved into a new role where we created more of an assessment referral model where we would catch presentations of disordered eating or chronic dieting or just risk factors, right? And we would catch it early because early intervention is like, we know that improves outcome. So, and then I was just removed from that in March of 2025. So now, Tony, I feel like I I feel like I had someone in leadership because I asked about it. Like we have Dr. Peter DeVries, who is he came from Rogers. He came from medical director of the adult residential and inpatient eating disorder program. He came there. Now he's our medical director of the whole thing. So I keep a thing. Okay, what's going on? Is there scuttlebutt, right? And that's when I was told maybe it's time, Lisa, that you just found other work to do that's in your specialty because it's not going to happen because it's not a need. It's not a need. What? It's not a
Wow.
need. Wow. So I don't I think on some level I feel like is my time there exhausted, but at this yet I'm looking for other opportunities, but the pay is just I
Right.
can't justify making a jump. So um that's where I'm at, still working at my practice. I'm doing this Rise Up Summit with a bunch of women in our community, April
Oh
18th and
yeah, talk about
19th.
that. So this is
Yeah,
the Rise Up Summit. Can you talk a little bit about that?
yeah,
That
sure.
was or is about women's empowerment?
Well, yes, it's also about like at any stage of our life, like I think we are taught to be like we stop checking in with ourselves and with our bodies. And sometimes like even the stages we go through, right? When we are perimenopausal or menopausal, whatever, and just kind of, and it all begins really with the relationship that we are we have with ourselves at that first moment where you are now considered a woman because you are entering that menstruation phase, right? But there's nothing that really celebrates that. And
Right.
so it is very shamed, right? And so what I've done is I talk about the menstrual matrix, which talks about like the slow process of alienation, self-abandonment, which sets us up for health problems later at every stage, right? So how do we then how do we reclaim that, right? How do we reclaim that? And so the second day is going to be, I have a big canvas. So people are gonna just add to it as kind of like the first Rise Up Summit, because it's really about experiencing the day. It's not about like making you do more, right? It's just
Mhm.
about an experience. So for me, my contribution is like really taking agency and ownership of our bodies and the changes and the seasons we go through, and to stop looking at society at large, to validate and affirm, honor that. That's really up to us. And here's how we can do it. So
As you look at, as Lisa, as you look at what has happened in our society over the last few years, um, you must be outraged at what has happened, especially to women.
mhm.
Um, can you talk about that? I mean, you must have clients that
Yeah,
clearly
I can
show
tell you
signs of
this.
being disturbed by what's going on in society. I
Absolutely.
mean, how do you process this yourself, and what do you advocate for others?
So I think there's such power in naming things. And what I think is happening is we're seeing the very last attempt to power, grab power, right? And what I'm amazed at is how many women are going along with this. Like Project 2025 is alive and well. And if, I mean, it's by the playbook. It's everything that's happening. And those authors are now in cabinet positions and parts of government. And this is rolling. And sometimes I think initially I felt like I was like in the center of people just like living their lives, like just having a good time. And I'm like wanting to scream, wake up, wake, do you guys realize what's going on? And even in my own family, even my own family, like my husband sees it, but and my girls, they see it, but I think they're so used to like privilege that it's not getting, well, Maddie sees it, thank you, because of you, and the whatever major she has,
Just
a
so our audience
DEI.
knows, this is how I know I'm old. Lisa's daughter, Madeline, also studied communication, and she now is in counseling also. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, she is.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, but she found out she likes the most is she went to some business to talk about the benefit of counseling. And she talked with some of the people there. That it was like a lunch and learn. And she's
Hmm.
like, I loved that. Getting up and speaking. I loved that. I'm like, ding ding, getting clearer, right? So I think, and the reason why I suggested she do that, not go the traditional social work, psychology, counseling route, is because you can do anything. You can do anything
Yeah.
with this communications degree. And
Yeah.
it'll help you be better at whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard for me. I fortunately have like a few individuals that I don't have to, do I confront this or not with them, because we're all just thinking the same thing.
Right.
Um, but it's hard. It's hard to see my loved ones and my friends um, just kind of lackadaisically being okay with it. Like I have, and also it's a huge trigger because there have been many people. I was actually a defense witness for a woman who was assaulted by someone very high profile individual. And at the college she was in pressed charges. So she even lost the ability to say, I don't want to, she wasn't going to press charges, right? And there was really, he said, she said, and then there was a video
Sure.
that popped up, all of a sudden video that popped up showing it. So there was not enough evidence to convict because you couldn't quite tell this individual if that was him in it, but it's him. Anyways, he got so mad about that he decided to take her back to court for slander. Like you would think he'd be like, "Woo, got out of that one. I'm not gonna raise any more bells and whistles about that," right? But nope, he was so um upset about that he took her back to court and tried to sue her. But what happened is I literally have all these elderly European American men that are saying, you mentioned something about rape culture. What does that mean? And I said, okay. So that still happens today, right? Where people don't understand that, the Brock Turners of the world get
Hmm.
different sentencing and treatment
Oh yeah.
than,
Oh yeah.
it is, and that is, oh, he's a bright future. So what? So it's like this, and I don't know if you've noticed this too, like this movement of like redefining masculinity, right? Like it's becoming. Um, have you heard of Scott Galloway?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I like what he's
Absolutely.
doing. I like what he's doing.
Yeah.
He calls it out. He just calls it out, and I think that's what's happening. Is that I'm seeing a emboldened sense of bullying and violence and justification of it. Like he says, there are men aged 24 to 27 who have never spoken face to face with a woman.
Yeah.
And as a result, they're online, right? Unrealistic expectations. What
Yeah.
do they get involved in? Pornography. And
Yeah.
then become porn addicts and they buy into misogyny. And then you have a conspiracy theorist right here, and you have a train wreck. But
Yeah,
it's women's fault.
I think where he loses me, and I'm not as familiar with his work as you obviously are, but I think I've seen clips where he seems to be blaming feminism for some of this, and that's where I start to lose that. But I think,
Really?
oh yeah, but yeah, because at some point he tries to explain, well, how did the men get this way, right? And at some point you have to introduce the topic of, okay, well, what were women doing while this was happening to the men? And
Hmm.
he starts making these critiques of feminine. I've never thought that feminism is the problem for men.
No,
Right?
no, not
And
at
again, I don't
all.
want to misstate what he's saying because
Right.
I have not seen enough of what he's saying. I think he does offer a very valuable perspective. But as you
I
know,
want to research that. I want to hear that. I want to
yeah,
hear.
but
Thank you
as
for.
you know, I think what he's calling out is so important. Whether we want to call it toxic male culture or something, it's been so destructive. And President Trump, for better or worse, is kind of like an archetypal figure in this now,
Yeah. Right.
right?
Right.
I think he's been the role model for a lot of men who see him as what they think freedom should look like, right? He can abuse
Which
whoever
is
he wants to,
entitlement.
right?
Yeah.
He can
Right.
abuse whoever he wants to and pay no consequences for it.
Right.
And some will identify that as authentic male freedom, right?
Right. Right.
Scary,
It
very
is very
scary.
scary. It's
Yeah,
very, very scary.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
When you are in a setting with clients, what is your approach in that situation? Do you try as a therapist to do less of the talking and let your client communicate what's going on, or are you more directive, or is it kind of like a combination?
well, we were never allowed to say we're eclectic, but I kind of believe you have to be if you're going to reach people, right? Because not everyone's going to be met at whatever. It's like going to a different country and being like, hey, speak English. I don't speak your language. I'm in your country. You speak my way. It's like, no, you don't. But anyways, I have a number of people that I've worked with decades ago who are back because they too have been abused by powerful men. And in those sessions, the recycling of the trauma for them, that we have a president with 34 counts of sexual assault, like he can be president of the, like that has just resurrected pain on a level unbeknownst. So in those sessions, I don't have any problem talking freely and openly about what's going on, right? It's when I sit maybe with a couple and I can tell that there is some threat, a sense of threat of someone's empowerment, that there's someone else now who has influence over, my wife. And then I have to be very, very, very careful to make sure he feels aligned with me, that this is not about taking anything away from anyone. It's about everybody feeling like they have their own power and they can operate from that center. And this is not about like, I don't tell couples to stay together or to divorce. That's not my job, even though many relationships are over before they ever step into my office. So and also, like, I live in the fifth most conservative county in the state of Wisconsin, who, by the way, I'm proud of, because 40% of that Republican base voted Democrat. So when I'm walking with friends down the street and there's this cute little store, it's pink, and it sells, eyelashes and beauty stuff services, and they have these signs, "Women for Trump," in the window. I'm like, that is the stupidest thing you can do. You should never do that. That is, if you're a business person, you know what? I've lost it. I'm never going to step in that store. And now my kids will never step in that store, right? That's bold, right? Like, why? So I do want to have comfort. Those people don't find themselves in a counseling office, though, Tony. They don't, because they think they're above that. Like, they don't think that this level of oppression and the loss of rights and the things, like, they don't care. It doesn't affect them. They don't care until it affects them, right? Until it affects them.
Yeah, until it affects them. Exactly right. And as we record this today, Lisa, the president is threatening to literally wreck the entire nation of Iran, the civilian infrastructure, water desalination plants. He put out, I don't know if you saw the Easter Day message where he was threatening to bomb them into the Stone Age. And again, as a therapist, I mean, how do you, or what would you urge people to think as they process this? I mean, it can't be good just to be angry. Like, I don't like being angry all day long.
Oh yeah. Well, and sometimes
Even though I know my anger will fuel a lot of my activism, but I'm sure in your position, you would probably tell people it's not good to be angry about this stuff all day, right? So what do you do?
Yes. So what I say is, I'm just going to own that because of your privilege, you can do this, that you can take a break from the news, that you can give yourself a half hour to catch up on a pretty well-respected, I don't even know if you can call it non-biased anymore, but it's truth. It's truth, right? This is happening. But to really carve out time to go there and again and get involved in any way you can. Like the protests that were taking place this weekend, I had posted something about, like, I just want you all to know that if you can't protest or rally or march, there are other things you are doing that matters. And that is, if you're raising a child with love of all people, and someone who is dedicated to calling out harm when they see it, or standing up for the kid at lunch that's being teased or doesn't have a place to sit, give them like this, that if you're doing those things, you are helping, you are providing sustenance. It's okay if you're not marching, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But then it's some people, because of where they're at, they might like to do things. I'll do mailers, or I'll make phone calls, or I'll do there, we do have a pretty active Persist organization, which is progressive women in this community, and they do a lot of work
Mhm.
rallying against or for things, and there's lots of opportunity to get involved, but people are really afraid. They're
Yeah.
afraid, and I don't blame them. When we had the pro-choice rally in front of this is West Bend in a nutshell, in front of Texas Roadhouse, whereas the pro-life rally was up the top of the street near Hobby Lobby. Um, right. But yet what was scary is like heavy police presence. Not one of us had I mean, if they had a weapon, they were concealed. But these people in these pro-life, they had carrying permits, but they had their rifles. Like they were just rifles sitting behind like I'm like, that's intimidation, right? That is intimidation. And I remember seeing a guy come like march through, and he took turns at the microphone, my body, my choice, then you would say back. And yet he had a gun in his pocket. And I thought to myself at that moment, I thought, is he has he infiltrated this crowd, or is he a police officer that's trying to make sure there's peace? Is he here for good intent or ill intent? I don't know, because his whole darn face was covered. So you couldn't see it. And so I remember my friend, a friend of mine, Steve Roberts, who interesting enough was a therapist when I first joined my first clinic. He's retired, but he's very active with the Democratic Party. But he and I walked over to the police officer to say, you know what, this is kind of giving us eerie. Do you see that
Yeah.
individual? And what, like I just, in light of all this, it's bound to escalate at some point, right? And we just want to know we're safe. And he confirmed, you're safe. You're okay. So it was kind of like he's a good guy, but
It
here to
is scary,
protect.
Lisa. You said people being afraid. I mean, I think, we were in Iraq for many years, and what happened there was we essentially created a civil war within the Iraqi society. And what I
Yeah.
feel is that has been brought home. That
Yeah.
it used to, not to sound nostalgic, but it used to be the person you disagreed with in the United States was just someone who had a different viewpoint. Maybe
Right.
you'll find a way to work it out. Maybe you
Hmm.
won't, but you're certainly not going to think about abusing each other, especially in a physical sense. But now we're long past that.
Right.
Now, the person that you disagree with, I mean, especially on the political right wing, I see this mentality. If you disagree, you are somehow an enemy. It is, and people say, "Oh, are we going to have another civil war?" I mean, I think you can make the argument that in some way we are there,
Hmm.
and it is frightening.
Yeah.
And I think, as you've seen as a counselor, a lot of people just don't want to deal with it, right? They want
Right.
their you keep using the word privilege. They want their privilege to save them, and ultimately it won't, right?
Yes. Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so,
And
how do
there's
we?
there's this interesting correlation between like people put people in categories, and it's like anti-vax. It's like, right. And like they're all, you can, I guess you're right. There's no middle. There's no middle. And this is like impossible to have. There is no middle. It's either it's right or it's wrong, and that. And yet at the same time, there can be people arguing that point as well. Like,
Right,
what does giving rights to someone who enjoys drag, how is that damaging to, how is that, how are your
it's
rights being eroded? Like this person, live and let live, right? Like how, and it's like, I think of those people that were screaming at the little Ruby. She was the 6-year-old girl that was the first Black student to integrate into
oh
the white
yeah,
schools. Remember, and the adults on there dressed up, screaming profanities at her, totally on the wrong side of history, right?
right.
And it's like I feel like we've kind of like beam me up, Scotty, as if like that fifth 1950 that time is like we're trying to get back to that time again where that kind of stuff desegregating is happening, right? We're unfunding programs. We're putting everybody
Yeah.
back there, and it was not great for everyone. So I don't know, Tony.
Yeah, and
That's
we
an
have,
ongoing
and we
question.
do have too many people in power that in politics and in corporate America, in churches, in
Hmm.
other religious institutions, they are not taking the responsibility to unify people,
Right.
right? I do think we have too many people that have been given some amount of power that are
Mhm.
not using it properly, and there are so
Right.
many people who really, I don't know if it's cowardice. I don't know if it is ambition. I mean, it could be any number of factors, correct? But we need more people to call out
Yep.
the abuses of power going on in society,
Absolutely.
right? And we just
Absolutely.
don't
Couldn't be more.
we just don't have that.
Yeah. Right.
And that needs to happen on all sides,
Right.
right?
Like
Calling out the abuses of
I'd love to
power.
call up, I would love to call up uh uh Chrissy Holmes and Pam to see how do you like it under the bus?
Yeah.
How do you like it? Was it worth it?
Great. You know, you did mention earlier about, the family as a space of kind of activism. I mean, what was your experience? I mean, you have three daughters. They're
Yeah.
all adults, right?
Hmm.
And you've got how many grandchildren now?
Three.
All right.
Three.
What has family life meant to you over the years?
Well, it's interesting because there have been major events that have happened personally, that really has helped shape the children I have, me and my husband too, but we have always canceled each other's votes out, is what we would say, because he's lived in West Bend, and he's Republican. He's not a Trumper. Vehemently, now that he's a dad of daughters, it's his whole idea of like rights and freedoms, like he
Yeah.
gets it. He gets it now, right? And so, and that has changed over time. But what has always been so not only did I become ill twice, but we let our children decide what they needed. So they would skip school and come to treatment with me, and sometimes they wouldn't. But we always were bringing meals to people that were hurting, and we just kind of did the action, and again, like trusting that there is something that you're gonna there's some meaning you're gonna find in this experience. I don't know what it is, but you have to trust that. And now I look at the fact that I have a daughter who is she does mammograms at Grafton Hospital, and she helps people do guided biopsy surgeries, and mammograms. She's on the cancer front. I look at Madeline, who is like very much concerned about what's going on. And in particular at Catalpa Health, where she works, there are a lot of support for people who are poor, people who are part of the BIPOC communities, people that are being kind of like hunted, if you want to call it. And she's making sure there's food and there's clothing and there's all these, like it is real service work that she's really being called to do.
Yeah.
And then my youngest daughter, Zoe, just graduated with her surgical first assist degree from Bellin College and started at Children's Surgery Center in August. So they are, they kids with cancer, kids with like, and they just know what to do. They just know what to do. It's such a beautiful, it's such a beautiful realization that what comes in our life might be hurtful, but it's not coming to hurt us. I
Yeah.
think it's coming to grow us, because
Yes.
I don't think the opposite of love is joy. Like I think the opposite of love is like service, maybe, right? However it shows up in your life, the stuff that seems so horrible. And I'm not saying be grateful for the things that happen, but it's kind of like you have to develop this mentality of like, okay, you know what, it's here. I didn't ask for it. I don't like it. I'm gonna like it. but I have some choices I have to make around it. And this is how I'm going to approach this assignment of suffering. That's how I'm going to approach it.
Wow.
So I think that my daughters, I know that there's some emulation of that, but I also became a little crazy during, like, I was hard to be around because I'm like, we're going to lose our rights. You're going to lose your rights. Or I'm backing out of the driveway with my protest signs, and my daughters are on the front lawn tanning. I'm like, this is so wrong. This picture is so wrong right here. This is so wrong. Like, I'm doing the protest, right? So it's so, oh, I think with sometimes I've pushed my beliefs so strongly on them that they
Mhm.
then just found other people to have relationships with that did the same thing to them, you know. So there's parts I'm proud of, there's parts I'm not proud of. Um, yeah. So, but when they had a mock election, they went to a Catholic school and they had a mock
Mhm.
election, and Mary was in second grade, and Hannah was in sixth grade, and Maddie was one of two people that voted for Obama. And the other one was her mom's an immigrant from Mexico. So it was her and Maddie, but I didn't prepare them for the backlash. The things the kids would tell them, you're a baby killer, you're a terrorist, you're blah, blah, blah. So like, I never thought I had to prepare my kids for that. You know, because Steve
Wow.
went to the McCain headquarters, I went to Obama, and we both sat them down and said two really great men, two different ideas of how to run the country. And you have to figure out the things that are important to you and which one you like best. Well, which one do you like best? Well, I like Obama because he believes the government should stay out of women's bodies, that it's our choices to decide what, you know, what we do, what we can and can't do. No one should have ownership of that. And there's many people on the other side that think that that
Right.
it shouldn't be fully granted, you know. So why are you voting this way, Dad? And so of course, you know, Republican values, and they both we're not monstricizing people, right? We're talking about ideas and ideologies and evolution because it's still happening. We think of evolution in the past tense, but we don't realize that we're evolving as people, and I think that that is so threatening to the powers that be.
You
I
know, the
think.
fact that you were having, you and your husband were having those kinds of conversations with your daughters when they were in their formative years, I mean, that's just extraordinary. And it
Mm,
doesn't happen enough.
mhm.
Um, you know, higher education, I believe, should be transformational so that people who graduate can help transform others. And I think
Right.
you would be
Yeah.
exhibit A in how it's supposed to work. Right? So
Oh, thank you.
you had a positive experience at UW Oshkosh, thankfully,
Yep.
and it wasn't just a degree, it wasn't just something for you to get a job. You've used what you've learned in addition to what you've learned since to
Right.
have a very transformative impact on those in your environment, starting with your family and then with your clients and members of your community and everyone else. I'm inspired by it, Lisa. I really am.
Tony, thank you for sharing that. Um, that what's interesting is I do struggle to um whatever people see, I oftentimes don't. It's just I'm just being me. I don't see it as anything special. It's the only way I know how to be. And I think that
Yeah.
that came as being a child in the 70s, right? And my parents doing their best to give me experiences. It also was helpful that I was in Fletcher Hall because it was the 12-month. So we had all the international students there, all the minority students there. And I don't know if I don't really get to share this with you, but this I went to get a soda. The student leaders move in first, and there was this student, he was a black man. He says, I'm not gonna hurt you, I'm just gonna get a soda. I said, okay. And so he gets a soda. He actually buys one for me. Thank you. He says, I'm Fabian Barrett. I'm like, hi, Fabian. I'm Lisa Koepp, or Lisa Tiegelman at the time. I'm the assistant hall director. You're a student, yeah, Black Student Union president. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. I said, can I just ask you what happened back there? And he said, oh, you come from a small town, maybe not a lot of culture, diversity. Yeah, it's pretty, it's a lily white, definitely. And she goes, well, I see that all the time. And I started to like cry. Like, I just thought like, Oh
Wow.
my God, to walk around everywhere you go. And then I think to James Baldwin in his interview with Barbara Walters, where he says white people walk around with this hidden hysteria every time they see a black person, because they, in essence, say to themselves, "What does your blackness mean to me?" And I
Mhm.
thought, holy shit, this is so, how does that influence a community of self? Like how that just
Yeah.
gets in you, right? And I was like,
Yeah.
finally, and then all of a sudden, and that stuff grows. I get called because there was a resident who had a cubby bat that he twirled all the time. And he got pulled out of class at the university police station because someone called in that he was being threatening. And they called me. They find me. And I went. And I said, help me understand this, because this is like really, he's really good at this baton twirling. And this is during passing time. And there's no, like this, none of this makes sense. Anonymous call, like during passing time, you think there'd be crowds of people if someone was being like aggressive or whatever. So I just kind
Yeah.
of became, I will advocate for you. I will help you. Backpacks confiscated, nothing found, but they kept the backpacks. I'm like, they could put something in there and tell you. So I'm like, went back there and I said, what? Give them their backpacks. You didn't find anything. Give them their backpacks, or I'm gonna make noise, kind of thing. And so, going to Walgreens because black women couldn't find hair care products that didn't make their hair fall out, right? Like this is my job. I'm going to go and I'm going to say, listen, I've got like there's 500 students in this hall, and there's a large population of people that have curly and coarse hair. They'll
Yeah.
buy your products. Just have them, buy them. So then they did that, and I was like, shit, this is using my privilege. I get it. I get it. I get it. And then the ultimate compliment came when the first Midwestern Lakes Black Leadership Conference occurred on campus. Do you remember that 1992, 1993?
Oh, vaguely.
The first Black Leadership Conference happened. And Fabian says, would you be an associate advisor?
Oh, wow.
What? Me? The person that freaks out seeing you in the basement by the soda machine? And he's like, yes, we want you to be an associate advisor. I was just like,
Wow.
and I learned so much. And I mean, I finally understood why I walked into the cafeteria and tried to find all the white people to sit with, because I got looked at. What are you doing here? This is the Black Leadership Conference. You don't belong here. I got that. I experienced that. I was like, this is so life changing. That to me, I got to meet Atala Shabazz, who's the eldest daughter of Malcolm X.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's so many wonderful things that have come as a result of my willingness to take a look at everything you wanted us to look at.
Wow. That's so amazing to hear. Let me ask you one more thing, Lisa. What would you advise graduating students in communication today? As you know, they're graduating into a very crazy world right now, probably crazier than the one you and I graduated into. What would you advise them as they approach this world after walking across that graduation stage? I know that's a really big question.
Yeah. But I think it's okay to name. It's not like you can definitely be very clear about what you believe in, right? But you have to be able to elevate yourself kind of above that to call out the problem in which these issues are being addressed or being targeted or not. People aren't hearing one another, right? We're
Mm,
it's hard to interview because you can interview with a company that's very, very pro-Trump, and they want pro-Trumpers, right? And if that's not you, it's okay to say, this isn't me.
yeah, it's not
This is
me.
not me. I will not fit into this organization. In fact, that happened to me. I was recruited to be a life coach for an organization that sold insurance for responsible gun owners. And I went in through like a four month process, a bunch of different rounds, right? They recruited me. I didn't get it, which I'm glad, because I thought, how am I gonna tell anybody that I'm life coaching for someone who's in bed with the NRA? And it was in, what I realized that this is not. and I too, I think that I did what you did. I was like, I was moving myself, like, fuck it, they don't like it, I don't care.
Right,
But when
right.
I saw the simulation room where they were firing off the AR-15, and they could change the background, right? Because they have all their filming and stuff like that. And I kept saying, I wanted to say, do you have a school background? Do you put that up there too? And I thought, oh boy, Lisa, that's interesting. You have to. I think I was just being lured by like money because I'd been fighting insurance companies for the last 2 years trying to get my money and being, you know, called out as being like a bad actor or a threat to the
Wow.
integrity of Medicare. So I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. That was like relief. 150 grand a year. I can do some life coaching and training. Absolutely no problem.
Wow.
But the minute you think after spending so much time with people that they would give you the courtesy of a call, but no, they don't do that. And that's the other
Yeah.
thing too. Don't expect courtesy. Don't expect, because oftentimes that is a reflection of the culture, right?
Hmm.
It's reflective of culture. We only take people who want to work here. We only take
You know,
people who,
Lisa, students these days, and this has probably always been true, but I hear about it a lot more now. They can send out dozens, if not hundreds, of applications and not hear anything back. Um, how do you advise, especially young people, to stay calm and patient during that process? Because as you know, you graduate from college, maybe you've got some debt. Maybe not everyone has parents like you did who said,
hey,
"Okay, come back
yeah.
and live in our spider infested basement." But how, how,
Ugh,
how
yes.
um, what can young people especially do to maintain calm during that process?
Okay. Well, granted, that involves a lot of self-awareness. So I think sometimes it's important to
Yeah.
step back because really, what are we being challenged with? There's this job opportunity, and we're going to try to sell ourselves as being a good fit for that, right? But to not forget that you're interviewing them as well.
Yeah.
Like, this is a culture, this is a like, you ask questions about the culture, ask questions about, like, the thing, if you want to work in a certain environment, ask a question about that. And I mean, if it's not in the cards, if it's completely different than but you've just gotten some information about, well, maybe this isn't right for me, that it is okay to say no. You don't have to take the first job offer you get. Like, sometimes, always, it's better to get a job when you have one, right?
Right.
Usually, right? So, with that said, like, you know what? If you have to wait tables, that's what I did. I waited for 2 years. I waited tables and bartended for 2 years with a
After
master's degree
graduation? Oh,
after
wow.
graduation, while I built a practice. So
Wow.
patience, right? Persistence, but also you don't want to go in like in a desperation either.
Right. Right.
Here's the other research, the other we know that the body can inform the mind. So if you walk with your head up, your shoulders back, your chest forward, like, you will begin to feel confident over time. So you position yourself as confident, and Lori, all of a sudden you're confident. And you're like, when did that happen? You know what I'm saying? So you cannot get like, it's Amy Cuddy's work. I don't know if you've seen Amy Cuddy's work.
Little
She's
bit.
like a social scientist, like she is
Yeah.
power posing.
Oh,
Um,
yes. Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's her work, right? So I mean, I teach that in groups that I run at the hospitals, and power poses and that. So do those. Get yourself big, take up space, right? It's just, I think it's going to be a challenging process, but you're going to learn so much about yourself.
Yeah.
Um, and to not success should not be defined by whether you land the job right away. It's like, what did you
Right.
like about that experience? What did you not like? What do you wish you would have done different? Whatever. So you make note of that, and then you go to the
Right.
other one, and right. But it is about also trusting. Like, maybe you already have a job; it's just waiting for you. You just got to kind of work through some of these tunnels to get to that. But
Hmm.
I just trust that your life will lead the way, so you don't have to worry so
Yes.
much. You don't have to worry
Yes.
so much.
Lisa, thank
so
you
much.
so much. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
doing this. When I stop the recording, just hold on. We'll continue the
Mhm.
conversation. But thank you so much for doing this. This has been great.
Absolutely.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All
Thank you
right.
for asking me. I'm honored.
Absolutely.